A stroke, also known as a cerebrovascular accident or CVA, is a medical emergency that strikes the brain suddenly, silently, and often devastatingly. It occurs when blood flow to a part of the brain is interrupted or drastically reduced. This deprives brain cells of oxygen and nutrients, causing them to begin dying within minutes. Time, in this case, is an implacable enemy. There are two main types of stroke: ischemic, caused by a blockage in an artery, and hemorrhagic, triggered by the rupture of a blood vessel. In both, the consequence is the same. A part of the brain stops functioning, and depending on the affected area, this can mean loss of speech, motor coordination, memory, or even consciousness. The speed at which everything happens is frightening but real. Within 3 to 5 minutes, irreversible damage can start to form. After age 60, the risk of having a stroke increases significantly. This happens due to various factors that accumulate over time, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, a sedentary lifestyle, and even the natural aging process of the arteries. The brain, though silent, relies on constant and precise circulation. Any failure in that system, no matter how small it seems, can cause a collapse. That's why stroke is considered one of the leading causes of death and disability worldwide. And more than that, it's a threat that settles in without warning, often without pain, and demands an immediate response to minimize its consequences. Understanding what it is, how it acts, and why time is so crucial is the first step to knowing how to react if it manifests. Because in the face of a stroke, those who know what's happening are already a few seconds ahead in the fight for their own life. A stroke doesn't always arrive with full force right at the start. Often, it begins with small signs that go unnoticed, mistaken for fatigue, stress, or just some vague malaise. A light tingling in one arm, a fleeting difficulty speaking, an imbalance while walking. These are initial signals that don't scream, but alert. The body tries to warn that something isn't right. Sudden weakness on just one side of the body, blurred or double vision, loss of coordination, or even a sudden and intense headache unlike any other. These symptoms appear and disappear quickly, but indicate that the brain is suffering small silent attacks. These episodes are called TIAs, transient ischemic attacks, and they're like rehearsals for a full stroke. Though they last only a few minutes, they represent a real warning that something more serious could happen at any moment. Ignoring these signals wastes the chance to act before definitive damage occurs. Being attentive to these details is a powerful form of prevention. Knowing how to recognize these subtle changes allows for seeking medical help immediately and avoiding the progression of the condition. Because when it comes to stroke, the difference between noticing early and acting late can change the entire course of a life. When there's suspicion of a stroke, there's a simple test that anyone can apply, even without medical training. It's the FASD test, an acronym for face, arms, speech, and time. It can be done in under 3 minutes and helps identify clear signs that something is wrong in the brain. First, ask the person to smile. Observe if one side of the face is drooping or without movement. Next, ask them to raise both arms at the same time. If one doesn't rise or falls quickly, that's a sign of muscle weakness. Then, say a simple sentence and ask them to repeat it. Switched words, slurred speech, or incomprehensible talk are also strong indicators. If any of these signs appear, time becomes the priority. Calling emergency services immediately can prevent severe sequelae or even save the person's life. Every minute of delay increases damage to the brain. Don't wait for improvement. Don't try to justify the symptom. The ideal is to act the instant the test comes back positive. This test, as simple as it seems, has already helped save thousands of lives around the world. Having this knowledge is like carrying an emergency tool in your pocket. Because when the body can't call for help clearly, someone prepared can be the difference between recovery and permanent loss of abilities. Subscribe to the channel. Here you'll find reliable and practical content to take care of your physical and mental health. Disease prevention, tips for healthy habits, well-being and quality of life. Turn on notifications and follow our updates to live with more balance and health. Now let's continue. As soon as the first signs of a stroke are identified, the most important thing is to call emergency services without hesitation. Don't wait for improvement. Don't try to lie down to rest, nor accept the idea that it'll pass on its own. The brain is at risk, and every second counts. The priority is to ensure specialized medical care arrives as quickly as possible. While help is on the way, keep the person awake and calm. Avoid offering food, drinks, or medications, even if they ask. If possible, note the exact time the symptoms began. This information helps doctors decide the best type of treatment upon arrival at the hospital. The time symptoms started can determine whether the patient can or cannot receive thrombolytic medication. Avoid moving the person unless they're in a dangerous location. Keep them seated or lying on their side if vomiting or having difficulty swallowing. The goal is to protect the body while the brain is being rescued. Don't try to give aspirin or another remedy, as not all strokes are caused by blockages, and in cases of hemorrhage, that can worsen the situation. An immediate and conscious response can prevent sequelae like paralysis, loss of speech, or even death. The greatest weapon against a stroke isn't luck, it's quick action. Those who know what to do gain time. And those who gain time save what's most precious: brain function and quality of life. One of the most dangerous mistakes when facing stroke symptoms is waiting to see if it passes. Many people, out of fear, pride, or lack of information, try to endure the malaise, believing it's temporary. This attitude, though it seems harmless, opens the door for brain damage to advance. The time lost can be what separates full recovery from permanent disability. Another frequent error is trying to treat symptoms with home remedies or self-medication. When feeling dizziness, headache, or weakness, it's common for someone to turn to painkillers, sedatives, or even teas. But none of these fixes the real problem. In fact, they mask the symptoms, confuse the diagnosis, and delay effective treatment. There are also those who call relatives or neighbors before summoning help. Though the intention is to seek assistance, this consumes valuable minutes. The priority should always be to contact emergency services directly. Specialized doctors need to be the first to know because they're the only ones prepared to act with precision from the first contact. These mistakes happen due to lack of knowledge, not bad intentions. And that's why talking about them is essential. The more people know what not to do, the lower the risk of worsening an already delicate situation. Prevention starts with correcting these common but dangerous habits. At 60, the brain remains active, but it undergoes subtle changes that affect its resilience and functioning. The arteries that feed the mind with blood and oxygen start to harden, flow becomes less efficient, and protective mechanisms lose some of their strength. These natural transformations, when combined with risk factors, make the brain more vulnerable to events like stroke. Many of these risks are silent. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, and heart arrhythmias can exist without obvious symptoms. Yet they all have one thing in common: they affect cerebrocirculation. And when that circulation suffers a blockage or rupture, even a small one, the brain responds with immediate functional losses. The problem is that these losses aren't always noticed right away. Small memory lapses, mild imbalances, or difficulties concentrating can be chalked up to normal aging. But in many cases, they're signs that the brain has already suffered minor vascular insults. And each one increases the risk of a more severe stroke in the future. That's why caring for the brain after 60 isn't just keeping the mind active with reading and challenges. It's taking care of heart health, blood vessels, blood pressure, and metabolism. A well-irrigated brain is a healthy brain. And prevention, even if silent, is what ensures it keeps functioning with clarity and strength in the years ahead. Preventing a stroke goes far beyond getting checkups every now and then. It involves daily decisions, simple routines, and conscious choices that strengthen the body and protect the brain. Balanced eating, salt control, proper water intake, and regular physical activity form the foundation of a healthy brain. Avoiding cigarettes and excess alcohol is more than a general recommendation. It's a real shield against vascular diseases. These substances directly compromise circulation and raise blood pressure, two factors among the biggest culprits for strokes in people over 60. Sleep also plays an essential role. Poor or insufficient sleep affects brain oxygenation, raises stress, and disrupts internal processes important for the body's balance. Just like emotional health, which is often overlooked but directly impacts the nervous and cardiovascular systems. These practices, though they seem simple, are powerful. They're what strengthen the body to resist crises and keep the brain protected longer. Prevention lies in the details of routine, in consistent care, and in understanding that health isn't regained by luck, but built with discipline. The biggest mistake many people make is believing they should only worry about stroke after it happens. But the true power is in the before, in the knowledge that prepares, the attention that prevents, and the action that saves. Those who understand what's behind a symptom gain time. And in a stroke, time is life. Having information isn't living in fear, it's living prepared. Knowing how to recognize the signs, understanding what to do in the first minutes, and correcting risky habits turns vulnerability into strength. The brain doesn't warn clearly, but those who've learned the body's language know when something's off and react before it's too late. After 60, every act of care turns into a direct investment in quality of life. Prevention isn't an absolute shield, but it's the most effective resource there is to avoid severe consequences. And the difference between who survives and who doesn't often lies in a single decision made in minutes. If this content helped you, take a moment and check out the other videos on the channel popping up on your screen. They're made to expand your understanding even more and help you live with greater awareness, preparation, and protection. Because when it comes to brain health, knowing ahead changes everything.